Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, Flat Tire Dan. Good to see everybody. Kind of a strange Saturday around here. Was supposed to get out on the ski today with my buddy down on the Chesapeake, and I got about a third of the way there and he called me. He was having trouble with his ski. So I turned around and came home. I got a to-do list around here, stuff to get done. But either way, I really wasn't planning on creating an episode. It was the same riding that I had done down there earlier this summer. You guys have already seen it. I was going to take the GoPro along. I mean, who knows? You never know what you're going to see, right? But anyway, turned around and came home. Got some stuff to do around the house. And then I realized that I'm always asking you guys, and you guys respond pretty regularly, which I appreciate, for ideas, like things you'd like to see on the channel, or suggestions of stuff that I can do. Obviously want to give you what you're looking for, and at the same time, it kind of makes it a little easier for me. If I know there's something that you guys want to see, then I can kind of focus on that, do what I need to do to make sure that I can do that for you. And I realized kind of on my ride back today that today might be the opportunity to follow up on some requests I've had. Now, the requests I've had over the past few weeks was to do like maybe a 1-year follow-up on the tires that I had put on my 2022 F150 just about a year ago. I had purchased Cooper Discoverer Road and Trail AT tires, and I had done a review episode on those back in October of 2023. And it got a lot of attention, a lot of people watched, a lot of likes, really appreciate it. But I've had some requests either through Instagram, flat_tire_Dan, or our Facebook page, Flat Tire Dan, or just comments on that specific episode. How are they holding up? You've had them about a year. How many miles do you have on them? All that kind of stuff. And so what I want to do is take the opportunity today to follow up on you guys' requests on what you want to see on the channel, and take a closer look at the tires, see how they're looking, and then kind of give you, sort of my updated views on them now that I've used them about a year and just about 25,000 miles. Again, that's my work truck, and so I do a lot of driving in it, and so I've got a lot of input on how I feel about those tires now. But before we get into that, let's go take a look at them. All right, so here's my 2022 F-150. Still looking good. Just turned 80,000 miles on the truck, and now that I have the dually, I predominantly just use it for work anymore. I really don't use it. I mean, I tow the jet ski with it, and I'll run some errands and that kind of stuff. I don't like to take the dually out in the weather, so snow, rain, that kind of thing. But for the most part, there's Triton. I use it for work. A lot of highway miles, but then again, I have had it off-road and in the snow, and I'll talk about that a little bit more after we take a look at the tires. So here they are again. For those of you who didn't see them in the original episode, they're a good looking tire. They actually still have those little nubbies on the side, that they come with. And the tread depth is probably about, I would say 50%, maybe a little more. Now I do have them rotated regularly, like every other oil change. So about every 10, 12,000 miles, I have them rotated. But they've held up well. I work on a construction site. I haven't had any nail issues. I haven't had any unexpected tire issues, bulging or blowouts or separating from the rim, or anything that would be like a concern with the quality of tire. And like I said, 25,000 miles or so I've got on them, and they're probably halfway through their life, maybe a little less. I'm hoping to get 60,000 miles out of them. That's what I used to get out of my Nittos. But they still look great. They're still holding up real well. And again, I keep the truck aligned, and I rotate them every other oil change, which I would suggest for any type of serious tire life. All right, a couple things real quick. If you are interested in these tires, my original review back in October of 2023, go back and watch that. And you'll see I mentioned there that I think at the time, at least as far as I could find, I was the first real review of these tires on YouTube. I looked around, I couldn't find any others. It was one of the reasons that kind of prompted me to do it. And so I'm thinking maybe it's still similar, right? Like I said, I put a lot of miles on my truck for work, so I don't know that maybe you're gonna find any other reviews of the same tire now with this type of mileage on it. The second thing is that my comparison is against Nitto tires, predominantly. For the past 15 years or so, the only real tire that I've purchased for any of my cars or trucks are Nitto tires. It's just sort of my brand, right? And they would have ended up on this truck but the line from them that I wanted, I couldn't get for like 2 months, and I needed tires. And I mentioned in this previous episode, my tire guy recommended these. Now, Cooper might have a reputation of being more like budget friendly, right? Which they were. I mean, they weren't considerably less expensive, but they were less expensive than the similar Nittos that I was going to put on the truck. But I can tell you, as far as like performance and tread wear, they've held up as well as I would have anticipated my experience with my Nittos would have. So other than cheaper in price, I don't think they're cheaper in any other way. I mentioned I do predominantly highway stuff now that I have the dually, but I did get a chance, and I still, I've used them in the snow last winter. I'll use them again in the snow this winter. The dually doesn't see snow. I did get a chance to tow the camper a few times with them all the way out to Penn State and back from here, which is a nice ride out Route 80 with big tractor trailers flying by, and they weren't washy and the truck wasn't all over the road. I towed the side-by-side when I had it with this truck up to like Mudfest, where I had to drive a mile out across rocks and mud to get to my campsite. They did great then. Rain, obviously. So other than, highway mileage, I have sort of driven them in all the elements. And again, like, I couldn't recommend them any higher. They're still the same recommendation that I did in the first episode, which is they're a great tire. They're well worth the money. As you can see, they're holding up pretty well. Keep an eye on tire pressures, rotate them regularly, and they should continue to perform great for you. They have for me. Coming up, I wasn't even planning on really making an episode today, but you guys requested it. But coming up next weekend, you're going to see us again, because we're going to be up in Lehigh Gorge camping. I mentioned in our last episode that we are going to do a little series of the camping and the hiking up in the Lehigh Valley, Lehigh Gorge, Lehigh River area, which is anywhere between an hour and 3 hours north of where we live. And so next week's sort of installment number 2. We're going to take the camper up. We're going to camp for the weekend. We're going over to Lehigh Gorge. And we're actually going to visit a place that I'm looking forward to visiting. It's kayak school. Right? Now, we're not going to kayak school next weekend, but there's a place up there that offers like sort of not crazy whitewater, but whitewater kayak school. And so we're going to go pay them a visit, see what that's all about. Probably take you with us there in preparation for maybe going to kayak school next season. So looking forward to that. As always, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for the suggestions, for the content that you want on the channel. We're coming up on a pretty big sort of viewership milestone. I really never imagined that it would come to this, but thank you so much, everybody who's been tuning in. If you're enjoying the content and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. If you know anybody else who might enjoy what we're doing, suggest them, to come watch the channel. We'd appreciate that. And we'll see you from Lehigh Gorge.